Crabgrass is one of the more prevalent weeds that we have here in Central Florida. This one here is Blanket Crabgrass and is going to be the topic of discussion for this week's Weed Wednesday. I'm Roy with EPLS, Environmental Pest and Lawn Services. Let's talk about Blanket Crabgrass. So Blanket Crabgrass, like all the other crabgrass species, is an annual weed, but we'll talk about what makes it a little bit different being an annual weed here in Central Florida. And also one of the reasons that I want to speak about crabgrass this time around is because of it being an annual weed, how it behaves here in Central Florida. So this is blanket crabgrass. One of the ways that I can identify this weed as blanket crabgrass is the hairs on the stem, which you can see right here. And also this crabgrass is different than other crabgrasses is in that you can see where my thumb is. You can probably see a ligule or a small piece of plant in between the leaf and the stem. That is one identifying characteristic of this particular crabgrass. Now, as I kind of zoom out, you can see this area over here that is completely infested with this weed. You can see some areas like this that are browning out. And the reason they're browning out like this is because this plant is dying, as it is an annual. So an annual is a plant that grows during a season, in this case summer. It flowers and then it dies. Now with crabgrass in Central Florida, sometimes it perennializes, meaning it does not actually die completely because temperatures here don't get cold enough often. So I want to take a closer look at this weed so we can appreciate why it is so invasive here in Central Florida. So I'm going to move this to a table so I can show you a little bit more about this particular one. Okay, so I have this piece of crabgrass on the table here, and I can more easily show you how to identify this particular one. Now, it's not that I expect anybody to go and identify, different species of crabgrass. That's not the point, but it's just that there are 5 species of crabgrass here. They all behave a little bit differently, and I want to show you the difference with this particular one, which is the blanket crabgrass. So I want to focus on that ligule, which, as I said, it's one of the identifying characteristics of this plant. And wow, that really zooms in. So it's right here. You can see that piece of flesh leaf in between this leaf and the stem, and you can see it in between this the leaf and the stem on each one of these nodes right here. So other species of crabgrass are not going to have it. Additionally, you can clearly see over here the hair along the stem. That is also an identifying characteristic of this plant. So another feature of all the crabgrasses is that they will root at each node. So what does that mean? So if I flip this around, you can see the roots coming out here. And so each one of these areas where the roots are coming out is called a node. So not only do the roots come out of here, but new leaves and stems are going to come out of each of those nodes as they are here. Now you can see how long these roots are as compared to the plant. So this has a very long root system, and it allows it to survive whether it's too wet, too dry, and it's a very hardy plant, which makes it a very invasive weed. Also, it grows in mats that can definitely choke out the grass that is taking over. Another identifying characteristic of crabgrasses is that the flowers and seed heads come out of a common point, just like this. So you see over here there are 3 seed heads, 1, 2, 3, that come out of one point. And we can compare this to Alexander grass, which looks very similar to crabgrass. I have an example here where the seed heads come out of different points. And sometimes this is called signal grass because you can almost see, it sort of looks like the seed heads signal in different directions. So that's one way to identify crabgrasses from other similar looking grasses like signal grasses. So this crabgrass over here, you can see it has really taken over the lawn. So this is crabgrass, blanket crabgrass, and this is the St. Augustine grass that we are trying to grow as a lawn. And this crabgrass, as you can see, it is so thick. See that? I can just stick my hand in there. Look how thick this is. And it mats. It grows so quickly, especially in the summer, and it literally just grows over and takes over the St. Augustine, which is this over here. This is what makes it so aggressive as a weed in lawns. So the question is, what can we do about crabgrasses growing in St. Augustine grass and other grasses, but mainly St. Augustine? So short answer is it's very difficult to manage crabgrasses in St. Augustine because there are no selective herbicides that we can legally use in residential St. Augustine areas to remove crabgrasses without killing the St. Augustine grass. Now, there is one variety of St. Augustine called Provista, where we can apply glyphosate over the grass without killing the grass. And that will take out crabgrasses as well as Alexander grass and many other grasses. But for most of the St. Augustine grass lawns in Central Florida, which are not Provista, that is not possible. So what are options that we have? So again, the question becomes, I'm at this point where I have crabgrass, whether it's blanket crabgrass or India crabgrass or smooth or large crabgrass or whatnot, and it's taking over my lawn. So what can I do at this point? So if the area that is being infested by crabgrass is about the size of a dinner plate or a frisbee, that's typically my rule of thumb. That is small enough where you can go ahead and just remove that crabgrass by hand down to bare dirt, maybe put a little bit of compost or a combination of compost and sand in that area just to allow the grass that is surrounding the area to grow into the area quickly and recover. But in areas where the crabgrass has taken over areas that are larger than about a frisbee or a dinner plate, it can be a lot more challenging because the grass typically doesn't grow quickly enough to recover into the area without the crabgrass or other weeds coming in there and reinfesting the area before the grass can recover. So what do? So in areas that are larger, the one thing that can be done is to kill the area that is infested with a non-selective herbicide like glyphosate, for example, and start over. So you kill the area completely, everything is dead, then you rake it out down to bare dirt, get some compost or a combination of compost and sand in there just to enrich the soil a little bit, and then install some new sod or plugs. The challenge with plugs is that they are a little bit slow to recover, and so if you don't keep an eye on it and remove the crabgrass that grows in between the plugs, if you don't remove it by hand, then unfortunately the crabgrass will quickly take over the area again. So it's probably better to use sod. Another common question that I get is, well, what about pre-emergent herbicides? Now, what is that? Pre-emergent herbicides are herbicides that are applied to the grass, in this case, that are supposed to not allow the seeds of different weeds to develop in the first place. So let's say you have an area of St. Augustine grass or a St. Augustine grass lawn, and you apply a pre-emergent herbicide to it. The idea is that the pre-emergent herbicide would not allow the seeds of the crabgrass to develop and infest the grass in the first place. So that works very well, mainly in areas where the St. Augustine where the temperatures in the winter are cold enough that the grassy weeds, in this case crabgrass, dies out completely, and you basically get to start fresh, and the seeds don't germinate readily until the weather becomes warm again. The key temperature here is a soil temperature of 65 degrees. And unfortunately, even when we have very cold days and nights over here, the soil temperature, it just doesn't drop below about 65 degrees year-round over here. And so the crabgrass just keeps germinating constantly. Now, will pre-emergent herbicides help? Possibly, maybe, but they're not going to prevent crabgrass from coming back forever. And so it's still something that you need to watch out for. Another question I very often get is, well, Roy, I have a service, whether it's my service with Environmental Pest and Lawn Services or one of my competitors, which we get asked that every day. I have a service, I'm paying good money for a service. How did you, as the professional, allow crabgrass to come into my yard? And the best answer I can give is the truth, and it's whether it's from me or from another professional. We don't have good control strategies for a handful of weeds. One of them is crabgrass. Another one is Alexander grass or torpedo grass. So typically the grassy weeds, that like the ones I mentioned, also Bermuda grass, there are simply no good selective herbicides to keep these weeds out of St. Augustine grass to an acceptable level. So there has to be an involvement from the homeowner, and not simply rely only on pesticides, herbicides for the management of these weeds. Sometimes it's difficult to hear, but that's the truth. I wish we had a better answer, but we don't. We can certainly manage the vast majority of weeds, the kind of weeds, but then the weeds that remain, the grassy weeds mainly, those are what ends up taking over. So I know this is a long video, and the reason that I chose to make this video now and make it go this long is because this is a very controversial topic that I deal with on a daily basis with my customers. Nobody wants to hear that, sorry, there's really nothing that we can do. But that's the truth, and sometimes lawn renovations are necessary, even if you do have a service that provides fertilization services, weed management, insect pest control services, etc. So I am working on a combination of products that I found to suppress crabgrass better than what we've had before. I'll turn the camera around and show you what I'm talking about. So as I'm walking over here, you can see the blue flags right here. So beyond the blue flags, I went ahead and used a combination of products on crabgrass and Alexander grass, and you can see it's doing a pretty good job at removing the crabgrass. That's all the brown areas from, or most of the brown areas from the St. Augustine. So the challenge is that following the application of this combination of products, it really stunted the St. Augustine. So you can see this area here, that is not all grassy weeds. That's some St. Augustine that really got stressed. It's still alive and it will come back. But unfortunately, that is not an acceptable result following an application for one of my clients, for any of my clients, to spray something and end up with this. So still working on it. Hopefully we'll have better solutions in the future, but that's what we have right now. So my wife actually reminded me, she was listening to this video and she said, well, what about baking soda? And I said, I forgot to mention baking soda. So one more management strategy for crabgrass is that, again, mainly for small areas of crabgrass, you can use baking soda, the powder baking soda, not with bleach, not with any other additives, just regular baking soda, and very lightly sprinkle it on top of the crabgrass while the crabgrass itself is wet. So you can do it first thing in the morning when the crabgrass is wet with dew, or just turn the irrigation on for a couple of seconds just to get it wet, and then just sprinkle the baking soda on top very lightly. You don't want to put mounds of baking soda on it. Just barely cover it with a very, very thin layer of baking soda, and that baking soda, it dehydrates the crabgrass, so it basically burns the top. But and it will look dead, but it doesn't kill it. It will definitely burn the top leaf, the top layers, and it will definitely look dead, but it will come back from the roots. So again, it's good for areas that are relatively small, where the St. Augustine grass can recover over quickly, but not for very large areas. So the last thing I want to share is I briefly talked about the ability to manage weeds, grassy weeds, in this variety of St. Augustine called Pro Vista. And I happen to have it on over here. So if you look at this grass here, all the grass to the left of my hand, so right here, all this grass is St. Augustine Pro Vista. The grass to the right is St. Augustine, the variety is Floratam. So in this grass right here, I can actually treat for any weeds I want, grassy weeds, non-grassy weeds, etc., with glyphosate and remove them. I cannot do that in the Floratam. You can see that there is a difference in the varieties, especially this time of year. The Pro Vista will lose color a lot faster than the Floratam or any other variety of St. Augustine, but I do have the ability to treat grassy weeds in it. So there is a trade-off over here. So I'll definitely do another comprehensive video about the differences between Pro Vista and other varieties of St. Augustine, but for now I just mainly wanted to talk about the crabgrass. All right, so I hope this was informative. Our company is Environmental Pest and Lawn Services. Our phone number is 407-532-8188. Our website is epls1.com, and we service Orange and Seminole County. Hopefully that was informative and answered some questions about crabgrass. Have a good evening.